Hi guys, Alec Peirce Scuba, and this is a Vintage Scuba. Now before I start on this little, very short, I think, very interesting thing about one of my greatest treasures that I have from my over 60 years of scuba diving. Before I do that, I wanted to mention about this shirt that I have on. I had to ask Kevin if it was all right to wear this shirt today because he's the guy in charge of, wardrobe and makeup, playing with my chest hairs while he adjusts, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, but I wanted to wear this shirt for a couple of minutes because this is also one of my treasures. This is one of several shirts that I picked up while we were on a 2-week trip diving in Truk Lagoon. Now, I'm going to assume that most of you are divers, but even if you're not, you might be interested in researching Truk Lagoon. Was touted as the best shipwreck diving in the world. And there's no question about it. It's fantastic shipwreck diving. It's just a 1 minute on the history. You remember Pearl Harbor, where the Japanese attacked and sank a large portion of the United States Navy. Truk Lagoon is sometimes referred to as the Japanese Pearl Harbor. The Americans discovered Truk Lagoon, a lagoon, a very protected place where the Japanese were keeping an awful lot of their warships, as well as a lot of their cargo ships and supply ships, all vital to an operating navy. And they launched a raid against the Japanese fleet that was anchored in Truk Lagoon. And basically sank them all. Now, the difference between Truk Lagoon and other wreck sites is that almost immediately Truk Lagoon became a sanctuary. There were many Japanese sailors that were sunk and died in Truk Lagoon, so to make it a sanctuary was a normal thing to do in that particular case. However, from a diving point of view, it hasn't been touched. Yeah, it's been since the ships sank, sanctuary. That's right. Nothing can be taken off. The number of divers is not restricted, but it is controlled. You can only get to a certain ways. You can't get to Truk Lagoon easily without going through a diving operation. And the shipwrecks are as they were sunk. That's right. I won't tell you everything that you'll see there. I'll mention tanks, airplanes inside the ships, aircraft carriers, all kinds of supply ships, washrooms, showers for the sailors. They have a couple of infirmaries, hospitals if you like, on board. To indicate just how special as a sanctuary Truk Lagoon is, there are still remains of Japanese sailors in the infirmary. It's that special. So as a wreck diver, as a historian, it was incredible, very exciting, very interesting. But I was also struck, having dived in dozens, hundreds of coral reefs, all the best coral reefs around the world. I was also struck by the marine life. It actually was really exciting. I remember remarking to Diana when we came up on how exciting the marine life was. The soft corals waving in the surge and so on. Brilliant colors, pinks and blues and purples. Unbelievable. And the millions of fish, not so many large fish, although there were some big stingrays and so on, but millions of brightly colored fish swimming through all this, and all of this on the shipwreck. It was really amazing. I don't think there's a hope that if you're a scuba diver and like wrecks and history and beautiful coral reefs, that you would be disappointed in going to Truk Lagoon. So I thought I would wear this Truk Lagoon shirt that I got in Truk Lagoon from Blue Lagoon. Is the name of the dive operation we worked with. Blue Lagoon. Sammy was head of it. I'm not sure if he's still there. And it was shore-based. So that was kind of nice. Truk Lagoon is not that big. You can actually do a liveaboard on Truk Lagoon. Check it out. However, this particular short video about vintage scuba diving is about some of my treasures, my own personal treasures. And this is something I acquired a long time ago. I wish I could tell you the history, but I've forgotten it. I've had these for a very long time. I keep them in a special little protective case, and Kevin's going to show you some pictures of these particular items. They're small, they're fragile, they're very special. I've had them for a very long time. I don't know how long they are, and that's it. There's a genuine glass ampule or vial. I like the word ampule better because an ampule is a glass container that is sealed at both ends. So as you can see, it's sealed at one end. There's a glass tube, if you like, ampule, and then the product is put into it, and then it's sealed at the other end with glass. So it's completely sealed Generally, I think a vial is something that's a little jar with a cap on it. This has no cap. It's completely sealed glass vial. And I have two of them. These, so you'll know, are genuine morphine vials from the wreck of the USS Constellation. Whoop-de-doo. What's so special about them? Well, if you know anything about the USS Constellation, you'll know that it was a military ship that sank. It had been used for many, many years. It was built in the early 1900s, but it sank in I think it was 1943. En route from New York City to Venezuela with a load of a variety of military supplies, including a large number of these morphine vials. So let's talk about that for a moment. What was morphine for? Morphine's a drug, you know that. In fact, today we would call it heroin. But it was morphine, called morphine then, and morphine at that time was the anesthetic of choice, painkillers. So it was used in military services. If you lost your leg or got seriously injured, then they would break one of these and use the liquid inside of it to stop the pain. That's what it was used for, anesthetic. And there were a lot of these on board the USS Constellation when it went down. A lot of them were recovered, a lot of them were not recovered. And what makes it special to me? Well, now, the next thing I have to tell you about is the movie The Deep. Yes, the movie The Deep. The movie The Deep was the first real underwater scuba movie. Now, there were underwater movies before. Journey Around the World, City Beneath the Waves, and on. Lots of them. You've seen some of my, if you haven't seen them, look back at some of my earlier Vintage Scuba episodes, and you'll see movie posters from the hundreds of underwater movies that were made. But the vast majority of those used vintage gear to start with, and secondly, there were movies. So there was an awful lot of artistic license. Yes, divers knifing big sharks, and divers going down 1,000 feet, all those things that are really exciting to watch but don't really happen. But The Deep was the first accurate movie. There were two divers, played by Nick Nolte and the beautiful Jacqueline Bisset, two divers who were vacationing in Bermuda, and they were diving on an old shipwreck, and they found some of these vials. And the reason they found them is, and don't want to ruin the movie for you, it was the shipwreck they were diving on, which was actually a treasure ship, was on the bottom, and that ship had treasure, gold treasure in it from Spanish times. And the Constellation, which in the movie was called the Goliath, when it sank in 43, landed on top of the treasure ship. So as they're down there exploring the Goliath, USS Constellation with the vials on it, and saw a bunch of these, Kevin's going to show you some movie clips. It's pretty exciting. Looking for the gold treasure, they saw a lot of these, and you'll see them in the movie. So it has a lot of reasons why they're interesting. First of all, they're old. They're a genuine article. They, in fact, do have a serial number on them to indicate that they were legitimately found and secured and have been approved for me to have them, for anyone to have them. You can't just go and get a little vial of morphine anywhere you want. You know, you don't ask your pharmacist for one. And so they're all serialized. And the movie The Deep was pretty special too. It really used modern equipment, and most of the diving techniques were what we would expect today. And it needless to say, Jacqueline Bisset was just incredible in it. And when you watch the movie, I think the first 10 minutes would be your favorite, but the entire movie is great. Robert Shaw's in it, you know, from Jaws, and the entire movie is quite exciting. I think you'll enjoy it. So these are very special to me. I've had them a long time. I've watched the movie The Deep probably a dozen times, certainly the first 10 minutes, at least that many times. And it's very special to me, and these are special as well. I thought I would show these to you, mention one of my greatest treasures, genuine morphine ampules from the USS Constellation called the Goliath in the movie The Deep. So that part of the movie is real, and these are real, very special, and I'm going to sell them. I'm getting to that age where a lot of these special things I don't need, don't want anymore, and so some very special person is going to have one of these morphine vials. Anyway, there you go. A couple of my treasures. I have more. Maybe I'll do a little series on some of my treasures, Kevin, because I have a few things that are really special, usually one-offs. I don't know if these are the only ones in existence. I doubt it, but I don't know where else you would find them, where else to go looking for some. And now you divers out there, I have a special privilege. You've seen some genuine morphine vials as seen in the movie The Deep. I hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget, Truk Lagoon. Look it up. Okay, Alec, Peirce, Scuba, Vintage Scuba. Talk to you again soon.